Hello everyone, and welcome to Late Night Love, our pod show for preventative mental health. I'm Dr. Caroline Heim, and this is Dr. Christian Heim on piano. And tonight's topic is how to love someone.
How to love someone.
How to love someone.
Training manual.
Well, kind of. We're certainly going to have a discussion about it. It's quite an interesting topic, okay? A lot of people are asking this question. But first of all, welcome old friends and new. We're so glad that you could join us to our live stream pod show, to our actually last Late Night Love. That's our last weekly live stream. So we're taking a bit of a break from that, but please stay subscribed because we'll be coming back with different videos and more live streams.
You never know what will happen.
No, and then you'll still get the notifications.
Yes.
So, but we're going to get into this discussion, and I just want to remind you that if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat. We'll have a look at those later today. And also, we've got some music. We've got more music. We've always got more music. That's why we've got a piano here. So we will enjoy this one. We will certainly enjoy this one. Okay.
That'll be fun.
So, how to love someone. Now, this is a topic we chose because my students are asking this. It's all over the internet. What a question to ask. How do you love someone? Okay, so why is it that we don't know how to love? Is my first question for you. Why?
Yeah. When you chose this question, all right.
I did.
I was taken aback.
Yeah.
All right, because I, like so many people in our society, take it for granted that we know how to love somebody, that it comes naturally, that love is something that we can take for granted. It will be there. We do it well. We've just got to try to get it right. But particularly over the last 50 years, we have taken it for granted, and because we're moving in much more of an individual direction, I call it hyper-individualism, we're leaving behind some of our skills of how to love each other. And so, as basic as it sounds, it's actually very important to look at how we can actually love each other.
Okay, so you're talking about hyper-individualism. Let's talk about that and why that's such an issue.
Okay, so over the last 50 years in particular, first of all, our prosperity is just been amazing. We've been able to fulfill lots of wants and needs, but we've been able to fulfill our own wants and needs, and we're all used to getting our wants and needs fulfilled materialistically, at least. Since childhood. Okay, so just as a dumb example, the number of toys that people had in the 1930s compared to the 1960s, compared to the 1990s, to the amount of toys that people have today, it's just going up and up and up. And what that does is give more of a sense of me. It's all about me, myself, and I, which gives just a little bit less time for we, for us, for that person that I don't even know. And because our lives in this digital revolution that we have now has been taken over and dominated by what we're doing right now on the internet.
Screens, here we go.
Yeah, it means...
Hope you're watching this with someone.
That's right, hold hands at least, all right? Even if you're not looking at each other. And it means that every hour that we're on a screen, it's an hour less with people.
Yeah.
And look, work, communication, play, entertainment, it's all on the screen now. Which means that we even have studies to show that people are spending more time watching Netflix, couples, than they are spending time together in things that you would think that they would enjoy doing.
Oh, yes. That's what you'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah. Funny that. Okay.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's just get down to the crunch of it. So you're saying that we're de-skilled a little bit and we're actually not really trained in like how, I mean... Maybe we need to go back to what love is, and because I think people are really confused.
Yes. Okay. We haven't de-skilled just a little bit. We are totally unprepared for what happened. I go back to one of the most revealing studies out of China from people who use the internet very heavily, right? College-age students that are just on there most of the time. their anterior cingulate gyrus is
Our
shrinking.
favourite part of the brain.
Oh, it's ours now. Okay, that's good. That's good. I know it was mine, but it's now Caroline's favourite part of the brain. That's good. The anterior cingulate gyrus in the limbic system basically is responsible for empathy with other people. And this study clearly shows that if you spend so much time on screens and less time with people, we will de-skill in that area. And I suppose it's a side effect. It's something that we didn't anticipate. We thought that all this technology is good because it certainly is convenient. It allows us to do a lot of things. But it's actually making us de-skill in the area of empathy. Empathy is a connection that we have together. And if we're de-skilling in empathy, that means we're de-skilling in love.
Okay.
So I am saying that love is empathy. Love is that feeling of, well, love is a whole lot more, but there's a big component that is empathy, so that I know how you feel. So when you're feeling bad, I feel a little bit of pain in my brain that tells me something's happening with Caroline. Okay, and if I de-skill in that, and she's going through something and I don't notice it, blur, all right, then she's going to be going through it alone. Okay.
Oh, that's so true, and that's why we're de-skilling in love. We're de-skilling in caring about other people and noticing them and going, wow, we just need to connect with them. But we don't know how, and I think there's something wrong there, but but I don't know what it is or why you're treating me this way. I thought I was loving you.
So, last time I was in Sydney, I was on a train station and I just looked out over the platform. There must have been about 300 people there. And I was looking for somebody that didn't have their head in an iPhone. And it was really hard to find somebody. Now, the skill is actually when we look at each other, when we read each other's gestures, okay? If somebody on a train platform all of a sudden goes like this, people are going to notice that because they're like, what's happening there? But that is already alerting our limbic system, okay, to what is happening to another person there. When we're all just in our own world of screens, then we are not making those connections, we're not looking for those cues, and all those cues, our brain actually makes neural pathways so that if you do more of that, people like me will be better at picking up when you're not in a good mood, or picking up when you're in a good mood, okay, or picking up what you're really trying to say, or just knowing what you're feeling. And so on a grand scale, if we're doing this and we're not good at picking those things up on each other, that means we're going to start making mistakes, which means that we're going to annoy each other more, and then we're going to go, oh, I don't like people.
Or I don't get this love thing, you know? Yeah,
that's right. And we don't get that love thing. If we don't get that, then something that used to be natural, we now have to rediscover. It's like glass. Humankind knew how to make glass, and then we lost it for several hundreds of years, and we had to rediscover it. I hope it's not the same with love. Okay? Ooh. So one of the urging things that I'm doing is asking people to interact. Just even if you are arguing with somebody, you are in relationship with them.
We talked about that last week.
We did.
So look at our video on arguing in relationships. But I think there is another element here because we've become so inward looking that it's not only that we're de-skilled in how to love and we don't know what love is and we're not picking up on those cues, but we've also feel that we're going to get hurt, so we don't want to reach out and we don't want to get it wrong. And there's I mean we have videos on getting hurt in love, but there's obviously that element too, and then it actually compounds the issue more.
Now I'm just going to put one of those doctor-like caveats on some of the words that we're using. All right, we're saying things like we're all de-skilling in love, we've forgotten how to love. All right, now. Obviously, it's not that black and white. It's not that extreme. But the thing is that we have something that is affecting the whole population a little bit. And so when you get something affecting the whole population a little bit, that means the whole standard of love is coming down just a little bit. And so we see the effects. And what you said is exactly right. It means that people are getting hurt, right? Because aside from loving people, we also feel the need to fulfill our own needs. And in fact, we want our own needs fulfilled. And so people go out there looking for their needs to be fulfilled. and they hurt other people in the process. And we're not talking just about romantic love. We're talking about me first, okay, and you push everybody else aside. And when you do that, that means you're hurting everybody that you're pushing aside just a little bit, right? But if we're all doing that to each other, that means we're hurting each other rather than being considerate to each other.
Yeah.
And it's a balance, I suppose, we've never got right.
Yeah.
But we're just tipping it too much in this direction. Whereas what I do want to say is the science shows it is natural for us to love and accept each other.
Yeah. Well, and I actually think that the world is responding to that, and especially through COVID, because all over the internet, particularly Instagram, it's sort of be kind, there's a lot, self-compassion, self-compassion, all that kind of thing, and self-love, but it is be kind to others and there's trying to reach out in these different ways, which we've got to negotiate in this very complex but wonderful world we live in. Yeah.
Yes. And we have to keep the wonderful, and we have to try to negotiate the complex.
Yeah, that's right. It's true, yeah.
Well, and we're either going to survive together, or we're all going to lose it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it is actually a choice. It is something that we can do. Okay, perhaps not on a population level, but as a psychiatrist, talking to individuals, I share with individuals what they can do to optimize all relationships in their life. Okay. So that's part of how to love someone.
Okay, so we've talked about all of these pitfalls and how we've just gone down that little bit of a notch. And I did talk about love in relationships and how you can get hurt. So I actually want to read an excerpt from Christian's book, The 7 Love Types, Navigating Love, because we need it in a fractured world, because I think this is really beautiful and it encapsulates a little bit about what we've been talking about.
Yeah, it does. And I do want to say that as Caroline reads this is not just about love partnerships.
It's
It's about
true.
any relationship, a relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, with your work colleagues. They're all relationships like this.
A relationship is like a tree. Problems will batter your relationship, like tempests and strong winds batter large trees. Storms can sway a tree and strengthen its branches, trunk and roots. But one sudden gust or lightning bolt can snap the tree. Discuss your concerns with someone you care about like a gentle or firm breeze. Don't come out with guns blazing like a huge gust, and don't suddenly drop some lightning bolt of a secret or criticism. Gentle does it. Aim to be truthful, gentle, and kind. A popular adage says that if you have a choice between being truthful and being kind, be kind. Now, this is helpful in interactions with people who are distant, a customer, stranger, work colleague, or distant relative. But the closer someone is to you, however, the more you need to be both truthful and kind. I'll say that again. The more you need to be both truthful and kind. With people who are close, aim for the following. If you have a choice between being truthful and being kind, aim to speak truth kindly and be truly kind. I love that.
But that's an ideal to reach for.
Okay, it is, I know.
It's not easy to do.
No, it's not. That's
but
true.
when people are close, they feel if you're handling them with kid gloves,
that's
all
true.
right? You're just appeasing them, okay? They want you to be true, okay? But if you are too truthful and just sort of say, this is true, this is true, this is true. It's all right. Just be a bit more gentle with me. So to find that balance, or ideally to do both, is being loving.
It is. It is being loving. Because truth is really important in relationships, isn't it?
Well, truth has to do with trust.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
so
because,
let's talk about that. Trust.
Well, because trust, you can only trust somebody as far as they're being true, right? And words are not enough, right? It comes down to actions, and it comes down to how people actually behave in front of you, right? And that's what shows their truth.
Yeah.
And so the more truth that you can give, the more that you're creating a safe place for somebody to be themselves.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're aiming for in love, to allow somebody to be themselves.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So Christian actually had some real practicals, and I think we are going to be fairly practical today with all of this in his love book, which is Want a Fair Go. Actually, I've written it down. Where is it?
Acronym.
He loves his acronyms.
Love my acronym.
Why do you love acronyms so much? I don't need to go there, okay? So this is it. I wrote it out. Want a Fair Go. So you can write it down. Is that showing up? Yes. So you can write it down and follow. Well, no, you don't need to follow along. Actually, why don't you explain it a little bit? We're not going to go into it all, but I'll read a few excerpts on it. But it's really practical and wonderful. And it teaches you how to get deeper into relationships and show love, really, you know?
Yeah, okay. So this acronym comes from a very well worn and trodden Australian saying.
It is.
That says people just want a fair go.
Want a fair go, mate.
Everybody wants a fair go.
That's right. Everyone wants a fair go.
I want a fair go. You want a fair go. Strangers want a fair go. Your love partner wants a fair go. Your friend wants a fair go. Your colleagues want a fair go, right? So what does a fair go mean? Okay, that kind of means that they want to live and they want to be themselves and express themselves authentically and let them try, okay? So, so this acronym, this turns up, I think, in 4 chapters, all right?
Yeah.
So it's a large chunk of the book, but it becomes a way of remembering 17 ways.
Don't worry, we're not going through them all.
Of how to love somebody. 17 ways of how to love somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it comes down to giving somebody a fair go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so what does it mean to give somebody a fair go?
Okay, all
So
right.
anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a couple of those with you because they're great, and then we'll talk about them. So one of them is the R in fair, so is real. R is for real, be real. So in contrast to keeping ideas in, be genuine and honest with friends and family. The time will inevitably come when you are in conflict. It happens because you love each other. State your opinion and accept theirs. Aim not to battle to resolve the unresolvable, but as much as you can, trust the relationship enough to show some truth. This is being real.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do.
No,
okay?
I know, because we're so afraid of being hurt. Yeah.
Yes. And the problem in the whole human condition is conflict.
Yeah.
All right? You're the closest person to me. Is there conflict?
Yes.
You bet there is.
Yes.
Right? So what do we do with that? How much of our conflict have we resolved in 30 odd years?
Not much. Still comes up.
Yeah, and what happens to be real means you're actually risking showing who you yourself are.
Yeah.
Which means that there's more room for conflict.
Yeah.
Because you want to allow other people to be who they are.
Yeah.
Right? And so, in a sense, this is the crux of what today is all about, all right? That you don't have to resolve conflict,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In a lot of business, in a lot of education, a lot of scientific endeavors, in a lot of things we do, we need to resolve problems.
Yeah.
We need to find solutions. In fact, we are solution-focused beings. We overcome problems. Our whole survival is a problem that we need to solve. But when it comes to conflict with each other, right, because what you want is as important as what I want, there's a conflict, and rather than resolving it, we're going to have to find some way of accepting it.
Yeah. Okay. And
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to start to do this musically, all right?
Okay, great.
Recently, I've been on a Lord of the Rings binge, okay?
He has been binging.
And it starts off like this.
Oh, the Shire.
The Shire
We love
theme
the Shire.
from Hobbit's town, okay? And how much conflict is there? Not terribly much, okay? You go to the Shire, it's all nice and green, everybody's got a lovely house, and they sort of play with apples and they have these feasts and festivals. Occasionally you'll come across a grumpy Hobbit, okay? And so this doesn't have much conflict in it, or tension or dissonance. Here's some. Now that didn't sound like much, did it? That's kind of a grumpy Hobbit, all right? What have we done here?
You're a grumpy hobbit. You've got a bit of hair sticking
out. Okay, I've got a head of hair sticking out. Okay. And in a way, this is what we want society to be like. That's why we start in the Shire.
Yeah, okay,
right?
yeah.
But then we get conflict. This is the ring theme. This is the one ring to rule them all. And in a sense, we all want to rule the world. No, I won't go there. But that's basically, that's an 80s song. Everybody wants to rule the world. But the thing is that what Howard Shore has done is he's put a lot of conflict, a lot of tension in that chord. Okay, and then he resolves it, but the whole thing resolves onto this. And it's what? That chord resolves that one? I don't think so. They're not related. To go from here to here, that sounds really weird. Whereas the Hobbit sort of thing, all the chords relate so nicely. But when you go from here to here, we need so much tension to be resolved. Okay?
So much, yeah.
And this is what we're trying to do with our people relationships. Okay? You and I have conflict, so we got to try to resolve it. 1 year later, 5 years later, 30 years later, have we resolved the conflict? No.
Still there. We've learned to manage it though.
Well, that's part of it. So all of Western music, in a sense, has worked on this idea of resolving conflict. And I have to go to one of the most amazing chords ever invented and one of the most tense chords that needed resolving. And Richard Wagner used 4 hours of an opera to resolve this one chord, okay? So this is the chord. You go, ooh, ooh.
Oh, oh. Ooh,
so it's an ouchy chord.
Yeah, ouch, 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 ouch.
Okay, and then he resolves it. Just a little bit, but we've still got some ouchiness. Okay, so this is the opera Tristan and Isolde. He has a theme for Tristan. And Isolde is on top of Tristan. So in the chord, the rest of the world, and I can't prove this to you, is the real ouchy stuff. And by the end of the first act, this is about an hour and a half into it, he resolves it here. And you go, oh.
Relief, thank goodness.
Relief, but it's kind of a...
It's not,
it's a sad relief.
Yeah, it is a sad relief, yeah.
3 hours later, all right, he resolves it this way. Excerpt, we have almost the whole opera.
It's
right?
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful because at the end, and obviously that last bit goes on for, I don't know, about 15 minutes, all right? But you feel, oh my gosh, all the tension of the whole opera is being resolved. And it's being resolved beautifully. Now, Wagner was not a nice guy. He stole all his music, but he stole from the best, from Liszt and Beethoven. But we need to find a way of not having to resolve conflict, not having to resolve tension in music.
Yeah, okay, all right. You're not putting that to me. I'm going to go to your book with that.
You want to go to my book?
Yeah, I do.
All right, okay.
Or did you want to say something more with that?
Actually, because I know what you're going to say now, and that will actually help in talking about how to actually get on with people without resolving conflict.
Yeah, okay, so it's the O in Want a Fair Go. Okay, so it's the O in Want a Fair Go, and it is overlooking. Okay, so, and we're talking about a love partner here, but it applies to other relationships too. So overlooking faults of a love partner. Overlook their faults. Overlooking doesn't mean pretending your love partner's faults aren't there. It's accepting them and not making the relationship dependent on improvement. And here are some quotes of things that you can say. I wish you'd be less controlling, but I'd stick with you even if you can't change. Less complaints would be nice, but if it doesn't change, I'll still be here. Yes, you talked too much again last night. So what am I going to do? I'm going to love you a little bit more. And overlooking the effects of time and aging also help in a relationship. Sagging, chubby, my eyes still see the sweet teenager I fell in love with. Or 62, my brain tells me you're not a day over 26. They're really lovely.
Okay, okay, but I have to emphasize, it's not pretending.
Yeah.
Because pretending is very easy. By the way, you went to the O, and that's kind of at the end of Want a Fair Go.
Yeah.
And they start off with the easy ones, and that's
they get
actually
hard.
this is one of the hardest things to do. All right. Yeah, because you get to a stage where you go, I just can't change that in you, and you know what? You can't even change that in yourself. So what if we just overlook it? And so, okay, so overlooking is not just saying, oh, that doesn't exist. Overlooking is, the picture that I like is when you've climbed to the top of a mountain and you look over all of the landscape.
Yeah.
The problems of the landscape just seem smaller.
Yeah.
Everything in the landscape just seems smaller. In the expanse of what this mountain is, what life is, what my love for you is, this is a small thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, okay, and that's hard, all right? Okay, I'm not going to pretend that that's easy. That's a hard state to get to.
But you're also just living with it too.
You're living with it. In fact, the word is accepting it. Okay, so let's take an example musically again.
Yeah.
Where we've got two people in conflict, right? And they can stick together, but it's just such a dinging, clashing sound. So rather than change this note or that note, let's leave those, and this is one way of doing it, finding common ground, okay? So I hear you like dogs too. Yeah, I like dogs. And you like dogs? That's good, because if we have dogs in our relationship, or just talk about dogs in our relationship, then this clash is not that harsh. In fact, if we can find more, okay, do you like bushwalking? I like bushwalking. You like bushwalking? If we can have that both there and the dogs, then all of a sudden that clash that we had is just not as strong anymore, and we can start making beautiful music together. And through that whole song, and that's a song from the 1970s, sung by Minnie Riperton, called Loving You, we had this. And what happened is we accepted it, but we softened it with common notes. The lesson for relationships being that we don't always have to resolve conflict. We can sometimes just let the conflict sit, accept it, look for common ground, and keep going.
It actually makes you go deeper in the relationship too, and we talked about that last week a bit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. All right. So you have said that it's very natural, okay, but it's still difficult, isn't it, Dr. Hines?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Okay, loving someone is difficult, okay, and you've given some techniques here and dealing with conflict, but are we going to have some hope? Are we going to have some ways to actually really be able to go deeper and love someone?
Okay, so let's go to the science, all right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, because the science kind of articulates the problem, because we all get excited by love, right? But if you look at the science, there's something interesting going on, okay? So scientifically, we look at love, and we're talking about romantic love in science, love that leads to babies and the furthering of the species,
Yes,
right?
yes.
In terms of lust, attraction, and attachment, okay? Now, the lust is mediated by sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen. I just got to have that person, all right? And it's a part of us that can take the sex without the love,
Yes.
right? But if you look at that, that means our starting point of love is fulfilling something in me, okay? Fulfilling a sexual need in me, okay? So is that love, all right?
Yeah, true.
Now, when we look at attraction, all right, that particular person is somebody that really does something for me, and I may want to be together with that person. So there we get a lot more dopamine. Dopamine starts to, I won't say cloud the picture, but dominate the picture. But it's when we get to attachment, when two people decide we belong together, all right, and they stay together for a long time, that the dominant brain chemicals become firstly oxytocin, which mediates that long-term feeling of love, serotonin, which mediates that feeling of calm contentment. I'm at home with you, that's serotonin, and beta endorphins. Okay, now I'm not saying that a love partner is the only thing that mediates those brain chemicals, because it isn't. These brain chemicals are going all the time, and they're mediated through different things. But beta endorphins get released when we laugh with people, when we cry with people, when we share any experience with people. And so the person that you're going to have that the most with is somebody that you share life with 24/7.
Yeah.
But if you go down to the pub, meet a whole bunch of strangers, and you're starting to laugh, okay, beta endorphins
That's going to be released too.
It's going to be released.
Yeah.
And you feel attached to those people just at that point of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take other love types, all right?
Yeah.
So in friendship, there's not that lust, okay? Because if that's what you're feeling, you're not heading for a friendship, okay? You're heading for something
You're getting
else.
the love types mixed up there.
That's right.
Eros
So
and philia.
You're
Okay,
attracted to something about that friend, something that you have in common, and then you kind of feel attached. This person is a friend of mine, okay? And so you feel those warm feelings of friendship. Now, even with a stranger, do you remember you talked about the time when you fell down in the car park at the shopping centre?
Yes, a few weeks ago.
And this guy came rushing up to help you, all right? So he was showing you some kindness.
Yeah.
Now, for that moment, you felt attached, all right, because that person was showing you kindness, all right? So this person is showing me a kindness. I feel attached just for a little while, but it gives you the feeling that you're attached to the whole human race, right?
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it just goes right through your body. It's just, wow, I feel cared for. I feel loved in some way.
Well, that's why stranger love is actually very important, because it's those little looks, a little smile, a little laugh with somebody, a few nice words spoken, that can make you feel good about the whole world, because you feel attached to the human race.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's this imbalance of, is love for us or is it for the other person? For us is more lust, okay? Life naturally teaches us to be more selfless rather than selfish, okay? So we've had babies,
Yeah,
okay?
we have.
Total selfishness, you know, sort of total dependence on you. Feed me, entertain me, make me sleep, give me what I want, keep me warm, give me
right,
love.
yeah.
Totally selfish,
Yeah.
right? As soon as a sibling comes along, where there's two children, then all of a sudden our eldest had to adjust. What's this one doing here?
Yeah, what's this? Yeah.
I have to share my parents?
Yes, that's right. Not going going to share. No way am I going to share. I am the center of my universe.
That's right. That's right. And that's what happens to all elders when the siblings come along, okay? And then when you go to school, there are all these people that are just as important as I am. Oh my gosh, what a shock.
And now I've got to share the world with them.
That's right. That's right. And then you go through that, and then at the point where you start dating, you actually have to learn that somebody else's needs are as important as yours, okay? And the only way you're going to stay together with this person is by fulfilling their needs,
yes.
all right? Then let's say you get it right, you find somebody, you have a relationship, you stay together long term, and you have children. Now you've got to be selfless enough to put aside your needs. What, you mean I can't play this next game? You know, I can't watch my next Netflix series? I've got to feed what? A baby? I've got to make sure that the baby gets medical care?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It's more selflessness. It's more love. And then if you get to become a grandparent, you're actually taking care of somebody else's children. You're helping them with somebody else's children.
Yeah.
So that whole progression, which is very natural, is teaching us, in fact, forcing us, demanding us to be less selfish and more loving.
Okay. So life throws us these curveballs. It shows us a way to be more loving through being selfless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we grow older, we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
we have to. No, we have
it's
to get.
true.
We have to get rid of selfishness. You know.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, all right?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
None of us can completely let go of it. But life itself, biologically, is demanding that we do that.
Yeah, and it's putting aside your own needs and wants too, isn't it, to be selfless? And I think definitely having children teaches you that, and all these things in life teach you that, don't they? So that you go, okay, well, this is, that's what I had to do. Well, why can't I do that for a friend? Well, I need to be there, completely there, being present there, completely for that person. Yeah. And that's really important. Yeah.
So we have a choice of going out there and getting our needs met, in which case you're going to hurt a lot of people if you just want what you want all the time, all right? Or you can become a doormat, if you like, and fulfill other people's needs and let them trample all over you. Yeah. And neither is right. Okay? So that means that to get a real relationship, there's got to be this sense of equality, okay? Now, there's tension in that equality because you wrestle with each other, you contend with each other. Sometimes somebody gives in, sometimes somebody else does, and there's going to be conflict and tension. But that's part of a good relationship.
Yeah, okay.
Insane, isn't it?
It is. So we've moved into the hope section.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so are there any more practicals you want to give with the hope before we move to our challenge? We always give you a challenge.
Okay, well, to crystallize in a way these 17 specific things that I talk about in the book, the word is actually acceptance, right? Which sounds so easy to say, but it is so damn hard to do, right? When you encounter another person, be they your love partner, your parent, a sibling, or a friend, just to accept that's who they are. To actually think, I don't have to change them.
That's hard.
That's really
especially for
hard.
Controlling people, of which I am one.
Okay. And, okay, so people think that this means not putting demands on people. But this is where it gets tricky because we put demands on each other all the time.
We do,
all right? We go into society and demand that nobody hurt us. We drive on the road and we demand that somebody else stays on their side of the road, okay? So this is why we put together a society where there are penalties for people who do not conform with the demands, okay? Like if there's somebody going around hurting people, the police are going to catch up with them and put them away, all right? So it's not taking away all your demands, okay? Because accepting the demands of another person is part of being accepting. This is the demands that they have. That doesn't mean that you bow down to them, right? But you let them be as much as you possibly can. Okay.
Not that easy, and not that easy if they're hurting you too.
Well,
so that where is the borderline with that?
Well, okay, so the idea is not to hurt people, but not to be hurt either. All right, it's sort of like, hey, you don't do that. You don't hurt me. And if somebody is repeatedly hurting you, right, then the relationship has to end.
Yeah.
You got to call the police.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I'm serious about that.
No. True.
I'm serious about
Absolutely.
that. You know?
Yeah.
Because you can contend. Okay. You hurt me with this. Oh, sorry, I don't really want to hurt you. Okay. And we get this idea of not hurting people from John Locke's idea that everybody has the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property. Okay, we've called that happiness in our society. But your liberty is limited by not taking away somebody else's life. In other words, you can't go out there hurting somebody else because of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's the contending that we have to do.
Okay, so before we move on to the challenge, I just want to go back to the very start where you talked about how we have de-skilled in the love area. And since this is our last late night love, the hope is also, isn't it, that the brain is adaptable, that we can, you're always telling me that you can always learn new skills.
You're wonderful.
Tentacles,
yes.
tentacles. I love this idea of this big octopus in my head. In my mind, and it keeps on growing new tentacles. When I studied to get my PhD, all these new tentacles grew. Or you study a new language, all these new tentacles. So do they grow so that we learn how to love better and the things that we've lost? Yes.
So wonderful, because that's part of the hope. The brain is actually wired to learn. The brain is actually wired to love as well. And here's the amazing thing: every person that you encounter is like a complete universe in themselves. And it's quite a challenge to the brain. It's sort of like, how do I work out this person? Okay, so and you start making a few mistakes first off, all right? But then you learn, and you go, oh, is this what this person's about? Okay, got that wrong. Oh, that's what that was about, okay. And then you find yourself finding a spot where you're more comfortable, okay? You're not resolving the conflicts, but you're just getting to know each other to become more comfortable together. So that's part of the hope. The brain is wired to learn, and as long as we don't have our heads in a screen all the time, but have our heads towards other people.
Yes, and looking at all those cues and being selfless and all of those things.
Well, and also having conversations that are
just
challenging.
Communicating. Truth.
Have the conversation.
Overlooking their faults, all these things we've been talking about.
Gently have the conversation, but have the conversation, right?
Okay.
And your brain will work, okay?
The challenge.
The challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge is to accept somebody in your life with whom you have a conflict, right? Now, this could be a parent, a sibling, a friend, or a colleague, and just let them be. Just accept them, all right? That doesn't mean you've got to take their shit, because you don't, all right?
Don't take their shit.
Right. Okay, there are ways of doing that,
Yeah.
okay? You do not let people walk over
No.
you, but this idea that somebody should be different, they shouldn't believe that, they shouldn't do that, all right?
Yeah.
All right? Even one very easy technique is to change a should to a could. Yeah, they could be different, but they're not, okay? They could do something differently, but they're not, okay? I could accept this situation. So you give yourself choice. It gives yourself choice. Okay, I'll just accept them the way that they are. And that may put limits on your friendship or whatever the relationship is.
Okay.
But understanding leads to acceptance.
Okay, so accept, challenge, just accept them the way they are and change the should into a could.
Yeah, that's good.
I like that.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yep, okay.
Okay. A little bit of housekeeping. Just to finish off here, we have been talking a lot about the 7 love types. By the way, if you like this channel, please subscribe and put the thumbs up that you like the material. We've got an audiobook coming out. Isn't that exciting? So I wanted to just put up the slide of the audiobook because we've got it available as an ebook. We've been talking about the 7 love types, navigating love in a fractured world. But the ebook, do you want to talk about the audiobook?
The wonderful thing about the audiobook is you get to listen to Caroline's voice, okay, rather than mine. Beautiful voice. And the thing is that if you have an audio book, that means you're using different brain pathways for the same information. So if you read and listen, then your brain actually becomes saturated with some of the same ideas.
Okay, so great. I better just switch back in case I've got anything else coming in there. So definitely that'll be in about probably about a week and a half. Go onto Amazon, you can buy it there. And to stay in touch with us, join our email list, okay? We'll be starting to send out just more personalised broadcasts. You can go onto the email list by going onto our website. And you get a free chapter of Christian's book with that, his love book. So yeah, that's the way we'll stay in touch. And please email us occasionally. And I really want to say two things. Thank you so much to those that have been our regulars on Late Night Love. We know who you are. And we have really appreciated your company. And we send lots of love to you from Christian and I, from Australia, across the many miles to the United States or the UK or the Philippines or anywhere else in Australia, wherever you are.
Thank you so much for listening. It's our privilege to be here with you, and we will still be doing things like this. We will still be having everything else that we're doing, and I'll be on other people's pod shows as well.
Yes, so Christian has started doing a lot of pod show guesting at the moment. So he's tackling some big issues on those guesting shows, such as trauma, suicide, depression, and some lighter ones too. He's even talking about eating disorders and things like that. So go onto our website and you'll find all that information, and we'll update you with our email list. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And a shout out to our son, Ben, who is in New York, who made all of this possible. It really wouldn't be possible without him.
Yeah, that's true.
Our lovely, wonderful Ben.
That's true.
Okay, so we finish off with some music. So what have you got for us today?
Some music. There was a revolution in music, in the Western music tradition, and the revolution was called jazz, because jazz looks at music very differently. From Bach through Beethoven to Wagner and beyond, the idea for the Western music tradition is that tension needs to be resolved. Jazz said, nah, doesn't need to be resolved. Jazz has wonderful chords like, and instead of going, oh, tension, need to resolve it, it goes, oh, that kind of feels nice. That kind of feels spicy. Why don't we just let it be rather than resolving it? So I'm going to play you something that is heavily jazz influenced. This is a song called Just the Two of Us by Ralph McDonald. It was a hit song in the 80s, Al Jarreau, I believe. And what it does is it has these chords. And there's a lot of tension in those chords. And that's what the whole song is based on. And jazz makes you feel, you know what, I can accept this. I can just let that tension be, and it actually becomes part of the spice of life. So if there's tension in your relationship, you can have that tension be part of the spice of your relationship. Or if you have conflict with somebody else, what if you just let it sit there and you went, ooh, my brother drives me crazy sometimes, but I'll just let him be. That's him. Just the two of us.
This has been Dr. Caroline Heim and Dr. Christian Heim for Late Night Love. Checking out. We'll see you online other times. Thanks so much for joining us.
Just for a while. We'll be back.
We'll be back.